Hi, I hope you're all keeping well. This episode today is a bit of a bonus special episode, all about the Minimalist Cable Cardigan Kal that Harriet and I are co-hosting. So watch if you're interested in that. However, if you just want to hear me talk about a current whip and see some pretty film shots, then go ahead and watch it anyway. I hope you enjoy it. And at the end I'll be sharing some information about the prizes for the Kal. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello. Today's video is a little bit different. I'm just doing a bit of a check-in about the Minimalist Cable Kal that Harriet, Wildwood, Stitches and I are running. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that we did like a live and chatted about it when we cast on at the beginning of the month. We're now nearly at the end of the first month, and so I just wanted to do a mini episode to check in, see how you guys are doing with the Kal and how we're doing, and talk a little bit more about it without it being all cluttered up with other podcast bits and bobs. So I'll start by sharing the yarn. I'm going to try and get this video up as soon as possible, but so hopefully the discount code will still be running, but it might not be because it's running till the end of September. However, if somebody really wants to still join in and they want to use the code, we can ask the Fibre company if they will extend it a bit longer if people are a bit late to join. So the yarn we're using is it going to focus? Apologies, I actually can't see on my tiny phone screen whether this is in focus or not, but it's this really lovely yarn by the Fibre company called Law. Now the Minimalist Cable Cardigan pattern comes in two lengths, like a cropped length and a full length one, because I wanted to replace a cardigan, an acrylic cardigan that I wear quite a lot for the shape, which is like a long dark green cardigan. I'm doing the long one, and Harriet wanted to do the long one as well because she's already done a cropped one previously, and I'm knitting mine in the shade Ambitious. And you know, I originally wanted to do it in the colourway Earthy, which I think is actually a colour that Fibre Company are going to discontinue. But actually the Ambitious yarn, sorry, I've been ill for the last week and you can probably still hear it in my voice. But I know if I don't record it tonight, I'm not going to record at all this week because I'm busy now nearly every evening until the end of the week. So I needed to record today, so sorry. But the colour of this which is not going to capture on my pretty bad phone camera, is really complex and really beautiful. It's like it's got a dark green, an almost black green, and lots of like heathery, browny, fawny bits to it. It's really complex and it's really beautiful. I think all of the shades of Laura are quite complex. I would imagine, I don't know this, but I'm guessing that maybe it's quite a grey base, undyed. Because the other colours are quite heathery and complex looking as well. It is a Kent lamb's wool, Romney sheep breed. So if you're up on your sheep breeds, maybe you know whether Romney sheep tend to be darker or not. So, and it's processed in a mill in West Yorkshire. So yeah, and it's really lovely. And when I blocked my swatch, it feels so light, and I mean, you can see how like drapey it is. It's really nice. So I did my swatch and it was good enough for a cardigan that's not going to be fitted. It wasn't spot on, but I'm happy enough with it. So the swatch is quite, the swatch that she recommends you do on her Instagram, which I can link to, it's quite good because it makes you try out all of the stitches. And I'm not that experienced with cables, so it gave me a bit of time to get my head around the cables before committing on my actual cardigan. And the other thing, in the pattern when you're knitting the cardigan, you kind of have to keep track of double seed stitch and cables which are on a separate chart at the same time, and that wasn't something that I was particularly used to doing, so this also gave me a bit of a trial practice run before doing it for real, so that was really helpful. Now I'm really stingy with yarn, so probably once I finish the cardigan and finish the cowl, I will rip this out and I will use the yarn for something else if I've got anything left. If not, I guess if there's no yarn left at all, I will just leave it. Maybe it can be used for something, I don't know. But yeah, so that's that. But I thought I'd share with you then my progress so far. So I started with the front right. I'm going to be careful because my yarn is still attached. And I have actually, oh, I've dropped it. I've finished my front right already because I found it really addictive. And to be honest, it's not that wide. You know, I'm doing the second size, and it will block out, like my swatch did really block out quite a lot. So, you know, like you're doing one block of cable and then the double seed stitch. The ribbing took me maybe quite a while because it's quite deep. But if I stand up, you'll see that it'll be quite long, it'll come past my hip, which is exactly what I wanted. And yeah, so textured and lovely. These white lines you can see, they are lifelines, and I put one in right before I bound off in case when I make the front left something weird happens and it ends up not being the same length. I wanted to make sure that it was easy for me to go back and add rows if I needed to. And that's also why I've left the yarn attached, because after I've done the back, or maybe midway through the back, I'll start the front left and I'll kind of, you know, compare as I go. It's not perfect, it's definitely not perfect. There is a mistake in my cabling somewhere where, if you can see, I don't know how well this is going to show up because maybe further back is actually better. You can see kind of the cables cross over at the start, and then I've got one, I think I can feel it here, and they don't cross over at the start. So I'm hoping it won't be that noticeable when I've got it on. I don't think it will be. I think only a knitter would notice, and yeah, by the time I noticed it, it was too many rows back. No, it is further down. It's quite far down. Where is it? Where's it gone? See, it's not that big a deal. Oh, it's down here. It's all the way down here. I think I realised, like, up here somewhere that I'd made a mistake, and it was too many rows back in cable knitting for me to rip back and correct. And it wasn't anywhere near a lifeline, because it's here, and the first lifeline is like up here. So if it had been a couple of rows, maybe like 10 max, I would have ripped back and corrected it. But it being a rustic yarn and it clings together, combined with the cables and combined with all the other textures, it was just a bit much. You know, I could drop the rows back, but again, with all the cables, I would have got into more of a muddle than I did. I would have got into more of a muddle and made more of a mess than just leaving it in. So I am just leaving it in. So I've done that one. And I've made a start on my back. So I was kind of thinking like, the back is mostly reverse stockinette, quite a lot of reverse stockinette with very little shaping. So I cast on the back the other day, and it's kind of been my Zoom meeting, or actually when I was really ill last week and I had no brain capacity for anything, I did most of it then, because I just, you know, the yarn and needle combination for me moves really fluidly, really easily, and none of the projects are that easy. The other cardigan I'm working on, I had lots of colour work and shaping coming up, so I didn't really have the brain space to be doing that whilst I was unwell. So thankfully I'd already cast the back on. So my theory was that I would knit on it whilst doing some other more complicated projects, and it would be my Zoom knitting for a little while. So I've done quite a lot already. I think I might cast on the left front soon, and like knit the two simultaneously, because the left front will have all the detail. I'll need to focus on that. I won't need to focus on this until I get to the shaping, at which point it might be quite a nice thing to do at the end of the day when I'm a bit tired. So I've got one of my progress keepers on it just to remind me which is the front and which is the back. But actually it's kind of obvious at this stage, because I did that when I only had 1 or 2 rows, because the front is the reverse stockinette and then the back is the knit side, and so the only thing really you're doing here is you do 2 of the opposite to the main bit and then 2 to the opposite at the end. So like it might be purl purl, knit all the way, purl purl, vice versa. So that's been quite mindless. The only thing is, I realised after I'd done all of that I was meant to go up to 4.5 needle, and I'm doing it in 4, because I think at the height of my brain fog when I was ill, I didn't even check the pattern. Sorry, my brain is still a little bit foggy, and I just did it from memory. And I did measure my gauge. Obviously this is pre-blocked gauge, and it is almost actually right. I think maybe on my sample I was a bit over, so maybe actually it's worked out in my favour. But I'm making a size bigger than my bust would suggest, so I'm not really too worried because it's not fitted anyway. And the reality is I never did up the other cardigan that I was making, that I had, so the reality is I will never do up this one probably. But yeah, so that's where I am. But yeah, mostly sick bed knitting. I believe Harriet is just about here. Where's my other one? Be better to show you on the piece. I think Harriet is about here, and she's just about to start doing her decreases. Now I will say the decreases, for anybody who's about to start and is a bit nervous, you have to keep track, or it gets to a point where you're keeping track of the decreases under the armpit and the neckline at the same time, and they happen at different speeds and different intervals. And I did get a bit, and I realised that when I realised that it was like every 4 rows do this one, every time you do the right side do that one. I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Like, how do I keep track? I actually wrote down, so there's like a 14 row repeat, and I was using one of my stitch row counters to keep track, and I was like, okay, so on rows 2, so it's like every 8 rows you have to do a particular decrease. So I was like, row 2 I need to do the decrease, row 10 I need to do the decrease, row 4 I need to do the decrease, or maybe 2, I'm forgetting the numbers. And I plotted all that out, and then when it got to the point where I had to then do the other one, I was just crossing off numbers as I went, and that just about, I didn't make any mistakes. So clearly it worked for me. It's probably not the most efficient way of doing it, and I'm sure those of you who are more of a whiz with numbers probably wouldn't need to do that. But for me, it made it really clear to sit down, because it's only about maybe 3 repeats of the cable pattern, so it's not that much. It was really helpful for me to sit down and like write that out, so that I didn't have to think about that as I was doing it. I could just tick it off. I'd just be like, okay, when I get to row 8, I need to do that decrease, and I tallied it off. But I put in a lifeline right before I got to that stage of doing the decreases, so that if there was a mistake and I got to the end and I realised I had too many stitches, that it was okay and it was all fine. But yeah, if you want to know a bit more about prizes and things, I think Harriet shared on her Instagram, but I will add a bit in about that as well at the end of the video, so you know what prizes are available. So hopefully that was interesting for the check-in. So I've just realised my partner's come home and I don't want him to hear me speaking to my phone because I'm embarrassed. I'll put in some information about my shirt in case you're interested in the show notes. But yeah, enjoy the video and I'll check in again at the end. So the prizes for the Kal are some stitch markers and progress keepers with an autumn theme made by me, and we'll probably draw for that mid-October. And then in November we will draw for a prize by Harriet. She'll be putting in one of her beautiful project bags, so that's a really nice treat for you guys. And probably December time, or maybe early January, there will be a prize of 2 skeins of Law yarn by the Fibre Company, the same base as the yarn that Harriet and I are using to knit our cardigans from, but in different colours. It's like a neutral undyed and then like a really gorgeous raspberry colour. Like a very nice colourwork hat or mittens, I think. And then finally, Carina Spencer is donating a free pattern and yarn kit to knit one of her hats with the yarn. So that's like it's a Marlboro yarn, and I'll pop a picture of the pattern that the hat is for so you can see what it looks like, but it won't be that yarn, it'll be different yarn. So I hope those prizes are enough of a draw. If the pattern isn't enough of a draw on its own to get you to join in with us, the more the merrier. We'd love you to join us. And here are some in progress shots of the whips for other people who are participating in the Kal. If you would like to join in and you haven't already, then please do, and please share your pictures on Instagram using the hashtag Mini Cable Kal, so I can see how you're getting on and enter you into the giveaway for some of the prizes. And I think that's pretty much it from me today. If you have any questions about the cowl, then please ask me in the comments or on Instagram. Always happy to answer a question or have a chat. And that's it from me today, and I will catch up with you soon. I've got lots of exciting new projects in the works to share with you soon. So stay safe, stay well, and enjoy the cozy autumn vibes.